So when I look at Petr Yan versus Sean O'Malley, post-fight, was Petr Yan robbed? Was this one of the biggest robberies in UFC history, as a lot of people are saying out here nowadays, 2 days after the fight? I have the stats right in front of me. Now hear me out. Now, I think the biggest deciding factor here is 1000% the takedowns. So I'm just gonna rattle off the stats. We've got 97 total strikes, Petr Yan, to 91, Sean O'Malley. We've got 58 significant strikes, Petr Yan, to 84, Sean O'Malley. Now, I'd say when it comes to the most handy stat that comes to Sean O'Malley's side is definitely the significant strikes, right? But then you look at the takedowns. 6 takedowns to 0. Now, when I look at those two stats side by side, it makes you wonder, right? It makes you question what matters more to the judges. Are the judges saying now that 6 takedowns to 0 doesn't equate to what? Less than a 30 punch significant difference? And I think that's something that we all should really think about, right? Because it's like, how are these things being scored? And is there a set rule book to how these things are being scored, or is it more of a feeler? Does one judge value takedowns more than the judge that's sitting next to him, who might value more significant strikes? And if that's the case, then I think there is a serious problem that needs to be solved when it comes to the UFC, and that's how we're scoring these fights. So if we're looking at it as far as takedowns, if takedowns are more valuable, that would be one of the biggest robberies in UFC history. If we're looking at significant strikes, then it's not as big of a robbery as we should think, and it would be the split decision that we saw on Saturday. And so it's a bigger question as to what matters more and how are these judges scoring these fights. Because outside looking in, and what we have seen as fans throughout history, is that when a person takes another person down 6 times and the other does not, and now we're taking into account of control time, right? Because on the stat that I'm looking at, you don't see control time. But I believe there was a 5-6 minute difference in control time when it comes to Petr Yan. So then you have to factor in that as well. Not only was he taking Sean O'Malley down 6-0, but he was also controlling the fight 6 minutes plus to Sean O'Malley. So again, it draws back the question, like I've been asking this entire video, what matters more? And shouldn't that be decided in an actual rule book and not just be a feeler kind of thing? Because we're going to keep running into these kinds of problems where one fight you might win because of takedowns, and then you look at a fight that's almost exactly identical to the fight that was considered won by takedowns, and that fight is won by significant strikes. That's a big problem, people. Comment down below what you think. Do I have a point here? I believe I do.